Games, Brains, and Head-Banging Life here, and we are doing a talk-through of a film franchise, a big film franchise. In this case, it is the spooky goings-on, the ghostly goings-on, that is the Paranormal Activity series. A series that begun and changed the face of horror in 2007. I strongly believe that is the case.
Yeah, there's a lot of spin-offs. A sense of like handheld cameras and filming and...
Well, what I mean by that is what I mean by changing the face of horror, because obviously, naturally, people tend to go Blair Witch Project from 1999 is the one that really pushed found footage into the mainstream. No, it didn't. It was incredibly popular, incredibly successful, but actually, name me found footage movies that occurred between 1999 and 2006-7, and you're going to struggle in the same context. Paranormal Activity and how it chose to film it, because it is different to Blair Witch as well. Obviously makes uses of CCTV camera footage and stuff like that, security cameras. There, and that was made on a lower budget than Blair Witch, and it earned a colossal amount of money. This is what I always say, and I believe, that found footage went in the air, and this is where it's really begun for me. You know, you can go back to Blair Witch as almost like an early template.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But it was Paranormal Activity in 2007 that really spawned the golden age of, if you want to call it that, of found footage horror.
Some people do. Yeah, I never bought into the...
I mean,
it's... of it, or saw any at the cinema, or fell into the whole... When they showed trailers of people screaming and screeching in the cinemas and things like that. Not for me. Yeah,
what you're referring to there is a trope that occurred during a period of time, during this, where part of the trailer, and a lot of trailers did, it wasn't specific Paranormal Activity, would do two specific things to try and gauge interest, and they would either have clips of people either coming out of the movie going, oh, it's the scariest thing I saw in my life, you know, and stuff like that, or it would have a night vision of people in the cinema going, oh, at the jump scares. I fucking...
No.
Oh, I hated it. I'm glad it ended.
Yeah.
I'm glad that stopped. But this series is 6 films long as of now. Supposedly, there is a 7th installment in development, scheduled now for release on March 4th, 2022.
So got a while.
To put that in context, it is September 2020 right now. So we are a long way away from this. And truth be told, I don't get it. But I'll explain why I think when we get to the end as to why I don't understand this 7th installment. So, it began in 2007... and ended in 2015. We have Paranormal Activity 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, like all good franchises that are running, you know, short on ideas and worried that they're going to start putting an audience off, they drop numbers. And went with the Marked Ones and Ghost Dimension. It's important to note as well, to show you similar how this franchise grew and grew into the beast it was. 2007 was Paranormal Activity. We did not get a sequel for 3 years. It was 2010. Then it was a yearly until 4, and then we had a 2-year gap between that and the Marked Ones, and then another year gap between the Ghost Dimension. It was firepower.
And didn't the Screen Actors Guild, wasn't there the strikes happening around that time? So maybe that's the reason why.
I'm not sure. I don't know about that.
I'm guessing that held up a lot of films. That could have been that they were going to have every single year, so it might have been that.
I'm not sure. Simply put, I'm not sure. But ultimately, when you break it down like this, we had 6 Paranormal Activity movies in 8 years. Holy shit. It's crazy because it harks back to an 80s way of filming where you were getting a Friday the 13th film almost every year. You know, a lot of people forget that the bulk of the Friday the 13th movies came out in the 80s because they were fired off so quick year in and year out.
Attention spans of gnats is what people think they have.
I don't think it's that at all. I think it's simply put, we have to strike while the iron is hot. There are times where you see like they make mistakes in this, and a good example of that would be, say, the massive gap between Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, and the Blair Witch 2016. You missed the trick by not trying to get that out quicker and earlier, and by then it's so dated and old, and no one really cares anymore. We've moved on from that. Do you see what I mean? So I do understand a lot of that. It's what Saw did. The Saw franchise was boof, 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 you know? And yes, it only runs it into the ground, but truth be told, I don't think they care. I think they're like, look, it's making money, and while it continues to make money and decent profits,
let's just keep going.
They just keep going with it, you know, if they keep doing. That's what Paranormal Activity is famous for. It's famous for being an incredibly profitable film series, and you can't argue with that. The films tell a story overall. There is a cohesive, so to speak, story being told, and effectively it's about a demon.
Yeah.
That is its entire story. A demon, witches' covenant, stuff like that, and each film does tie into the other in some way. We will say now that these tie-in moments get very, very minimal as we go on. Very, very minimal and very, very small. Which
is a shame, because that is like some of the best bits of it, is where they kind of link it back, and when it's like, oh, that goes back to that.
Yep.
That makes sense of that character or that plot point, and that was the most interesting part,
Absolutely. But from 4 onwards, I strongly believe that we have no more than maybe 20 to 30 minutes footage overall that ties into the story, the overall lore of the actual thing, and that's a real problem for me. I said after we went through these films, I said that had this just been a trilogy, and what I would have done was combined 1 and 2 into one film, made the prequel, which is number 3, its own film again, and then combined 4 parts of 4, the marked ones and Ghost Dimension, into one movie as well, and you would have had a tight, very concise, well-told story, I think, across 3 films. There's so much from Paranormal Activity 4 onwards that is so unnecessary, and it's such a waste of time that you could have done without it. But we'll get a bit more into that as we do each individual film. So, of course, as we've said already, it's found footage. It makes use of basically production cameras set up around houses. So you are talking from handheld cameras, some old-fashioned in the early film, to more modern stuff, stuff like that, and security cameras that are either outside the house or placed within a house in certain rooms. That's kind of how it's presented throughout.
Yeah, so sometimes they use different type of cameras, don't they? Sometimes they use phones briefly.
It's
very briefly.
Yeah, later films plays around with it, because later films really struggle to have a good reason to have security cameras installed, which forces the issue. And we actually get, particularly, I think 4, maybe the marked ones more. No, the marked ones definitely, where it's predominantly the found footage. Someone hold the clover field. And of course, once we start with that, we enter a brand new territory of maddening decisions involved in those cameras. But again, we'll get to that, right? So, let's talk about the general critical and audience reaction about what is often considered to be the franchise's strengths. So, the first and the third film are often talked about as being the best ones. The second and the fifth, so number 2 and the marked ones, are the middle of the road ones. Whereas the 4th film and the 6th film are ones that receive the most negativity. I agree. I actually 100% agree with that.
Mirrors a lot that what we thought as well.
Let's say it now. The best one, the third film. The third film is the best one. Yeah, absolutely. For me, I'm just gonna run down what I think of each one, and you can do yours.
Okay.
So I think the first one is an okay film at best. I think it's overrated, and on rewatching, it is I think it gets worse the more you watch it. I think the second one is on par, maybe a little bit below it, but better in the sense that, not better than the first one, but better because obviously it's now beginning to create a bigger story. But number 2 is probably one of the more boring ones. Most boring ones, I'd say. Not a lot happens. The third one, the prequel, is very clever, really, really gets the imagination going, and has some of the best scares. The fourth one, it's a waste of honestly, it's the worst one. It is a waste of time. For the brief 5 minutes, about 5 minutes of overall plot development you get, it is a waste of time. Shouldn't even exist. The marked ones does a lot right, but then fucks it up so badly in the last 20 minutes in a way that is almost just like, oh my God. For me, it does certain things that take you so out of the movie, you just can't take it seriously anymore. And the Ghost Dimension is as close to on par with number 4 as possible. An almost complete waste of time. Only saved by how it really ties up the story. That's the only thing. That's my opinion.
So, we're going to agree on quite a few of them. I think number 1 has some good introduction of it. Like, the characters are good. The progression of how it goes along is good. Second film, like you say, it expands the story, but overall, not anything special. I won't go, I'll put that one on again.
Yep.
Number 3, I remember, that's the thing you were saying earlier. I remember the scares for number 3. And the way they play with cameras is quite fun. Because they're limited by modern technology.
Yep.
Because they've not got it because it's the 80s.
Yep.
But they still managed to make some quite good use of it. It's quite inventive. Number 4, just the character. There's no warmth in the characters. It's bland. So yeah, skip that one. Number 5, character development was really good in that film. I really enjoyed watching the actual characters, and when it did reflect back to the story, I'm like, oh, we want more of that. We want more tie-ins to the overall plot of the Ray family and how it's all linked. Number 5. I'm on number 5 now, aren't I?
No, that was the marked one. So number 6, the last one, Ghost Dimension.
Yeah, just some of the points are unforgivable. We'll talk about them, but some of the character plot development is so unbelievable that it takes you out of it straight away. So it's pointless.
It's a very
And the 3D the way they made it 3D was just wasting us watching it, and it just looked cheap.
Yep. Yeah, I should point out that Ghost Dimension was 3D. That is the only one of the franchise that did that, of course, but it was during that fad. Okay, first film then. So, Kate and Micah. Katie and Micah. Yeah. Katie and Micah are our main stars. These are a couple. These are what everybody associates with Paranormal Activity. Katie, played by Katie Featherston, and Micah, played by Micah Slowe. Yeah. Micah Slowe. I'm going to say Micah, because that's how I say it.
I say Mika.
How does she say it in the film? Mika. All right, let's go with Mika. Let's say it on me. So they're a young couple who have moved to a new house in San Diego. You know all of this, the very Paranormal Activity trope, which is the writing appearing on the thing, very like type, so on. It's sold as found footage that it implies straight away that these couple are already dead. It tells you that from the start, police footage and stuff like that. And one of the things I do like about this film is that it dives straight in. Yeah. Dives on in.
She's already having, when it starts, Katie's already having major issues with sleeping and just being
evil presence.
Disturbed by something. And they've gone with the cameras rather than build up to it. It's your first film. Let's get straight into what you're going to give us. Yeah,
so that's exactly it. Katie has been having a few issues, and Mika has bought a video camera because he wants to try and capture it. He says as much as all that. And the camera is set up in their bedroom. The predominantly most of this film takes place from one static camera that's in their bedroom, which is then picked up and used elsewhere. So yeah, it's just lots of subtle stuff in this movie. This is a very slow burn of a film where not loads happens until the last 2 minutes. Let's talk, because we're not going to replay the entire film for you. We're just going to talk about the highlights and certain moments and lowlights and things like that. So let's talk about the characters themselves. Let's talk about Katie and Mika. Thoughts on them?
I like them as a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the way it progresses. So she's getting more and more tired. She kind of obviously wants him to help. I did like them two together. Okay. I thought it was a good couple.
I think they lack chemistry. I think they never came across to me like a legit couple. I never really got that kind of vibe from them. I struggle with that. I think Katie Featherston is the better of the two. I think Mika Slowe sometimes just comes a little bit too cheesy, a little bit too this is just fun kind of thing. It doesn't work so well for me. I think it's a minor complaint. For the most part, most part it's perfectly fine. It's just certain little things. Normally when it's not related to the scary stuff, that kind of thing.
But then when you look at Katie as a character, when you kind of realise what her and her sisters have been through overall, when you look at all of the films, would it make sense? She's not the warmest of people.
But we're not supposed to have that at this stage. So I think I certainly don't think it's fair to go to a later film and go, oh, that reflects back to the first film, because I don't think that was their intention.
No, but I don't feel like, I think they're a caring couple, but when you come into it, she's already going for quite a lot. So I don't expect it to be like bubbly and fun. She's more progressive into what she's going through.
No, I don't get that. Okay. No, I don't think it's nowhere as big as you think it is. I think you're adding stuff that doesn't actually exist. Okay. It's strange occurrences, not demon stuff. Not when they first get the strange occurrence.
She's not sleeping well.
But nowhere what it is compared to at the end. That's. I think it's important when you watch the franchise as a whole as well, is not to start adding your own bits that don't actually exist, because what you end up doing is filling in a lot of blanks that the movie should have done. Yeah. And it's not like, oh, you're allowed to do that. It's the sense that, no, they just didn't do it because it doesn't exist, or they didn't care, or they didn't do this. Yeah. You can make any film better by going, well, if that means that, and that means that, and I'll just add this extra bit in. Then, but if that's not there, That's not the medium they're selling you. They're selling you, this is our story. This is all you need.
I did get Katie's frustration throughout the film.
Oh, throughout the film, because Mika doesn't take it seriously. He thinks it's fun and games.
Yeah, and I get that. And again, it's not happening to him, so it would be like, I wouldn't take it seriously because it's not happening to him. And she's like, well, it's happening to me, so... But
he goes, but there is a degree where that goes too far, in my opinion. I can understand being a bit dismissive and be like, look, you know, that kind of thing. I think the problem becomes when he goes against her wishes and plays with a Ouija board. That, to me, is where it's like, okay, she clearly, you know what I mean? Like, that's a problem in that sense. So yeah, basically, Mika's fascinated by it and he wants to capture this sort of stuff. She's not too happy about it. Later on, we find out that it's kind of related to her childhood and that during her childhood, she was also kind of haunted by an evil presence, so to speak, and her sister. And they end up contacting like a demonologist or a demon expert, that kind of thing. He comes in. I think he's quite an interesting addition to the movie briefly because when he comes in, he does all the things you expect from a sort of fake porn. Oh, there's a presence here and that kind of thing. And of course, Mika doesn't take that seriously. I wouldn't. You know, but he kind of just relays some information about the, like, look, it's basically your house isn't haunted. You are.
Yeah.
That thing.
I quite like the way he does it though, because I find that quite creepy, the fact that even he, like, this is his life's work. And even he's like, that's too much for me. I'm leaving.
Yeah, he says he's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He says, I can't help you. He'll put you in contact with someone else.
Yeah, like, he's not, like, if he was a fraud or a fake, he'd be like, I'll take your money and at least give it a go. Look like I'm doing a seance or something stupid. But he's so scared of whatever's in the house that he just wants to get out of there as soon as possible. Yeah. So I thought that was quite a nice touch.
I don't mind it. I don't mind this sequence of events. But in between that, you know, we get a lot of this recordings. And what you'll often get is it'll come in when they've gone to bed. And you'll have seen the infamous shots. Like, you know, it's the front cover of like the DVD and Blu-ray and all that. You know, them sitting up in bed, that kind of thing. You get a lot of that. And then the camera would speed up to like, normally it's weird. It always seems, I think it's obviously on purpose. But between like 3 and 4 a.m. always sort of seems to be the time. And you know, it's noises at night or like noises waking them up, or like a breeze blows a sheet off Katie's leg, stuff like that. Yeah. All of it's fine. It's subtle because the film does do that well, where when it stops speeding up and the footage stops, and you're like, okay, something's going to happen, and you're intently staring at that screen. I can't fault that. It works. The issue is, ultimately, a lot of the time, we know it's got one aim, to try and make you jump. That isn't really what I enjoy. There is the best one, the one we're going to talk about now, is when it's not a jump scare and it's just something really fucking creepy. And it's night 15, I believe. So each day 1, day 2, that kind of thing. Night 15, and it's getting worse for Katie. And she gets out of bed in a bit of a trance, clearly, and she goes around to Mika's side of the bed and stands staring at him. Yeah. And the camera speeds up.
Yeah, for hours, isn't she?
And she's there for hours. Just not move, just there. Yeah. That's brilliant. That is brilliant. That ends when she goes outside. Mika follows her, wakes up and follows her, finds her in a sort of trance, so to speak. Outside, you know, it's cold and she doesn't want to come back in and stuff like that. Which I think that's probably the most effective part of the film. Definitely. Yeah. Then we kind of get the Ouija board stuff, and it ramps up here where it's kind of like, okay, this is definitely ghostly goings on, so to speak, as they go out and the Ouija board moves on its own, it sets fire and stuff like that. Mika shows it to her. She's obviously unimpressed. But Mika's still obsessed with trying to capture this. So they do like baby powder. Yeah, to catch anything that walks around. Yeah. To kind of capture, and they of course end up kind of finding footprints in it. And those footprints end up leading to the attic, which leads them to an overall big plot development point, which is a burnt picture of Katie as a child. Now, this is where it's revealed that Katie's childhood, their mother, there was a fire, a house fire that destroyed all their belongings, and I believe killed their mother. Like, that's what she believes. They were looked after by their grandmother, grandmother Lois. So this picture shouldn't exist. It's a burnt picture. So you can understand why Katie's a bit freaked out by this. How is it in the attic, basically? Yeah, because it's not like it's an old family house, which could explain it a bit better than that. They've moved to San Diego. New house, new place for them both. So quite a creepy turn of events. Yeah, and it's quite a good pull-up point to expand the story. And it's. From this point on, it's less about the scares, more about the effect it's having on Katie. You talked about her not sleeping well. This is where the movie shows that, you know, she's a bit more catatonic. She's not very talkative and stuff like that. And it has, you know, we're getting to the end of the film, so it ramps up.
Yeah.
And the big ramp up is her being dragged out of bed.
Yeah.
So it's a good sequence, done well. Sheet fling off, she's grabbed by the foot and she's dragged down. I love this. This is such an important thing of why Paranormal Activity 1 is worth giving a break in the found footage element.
Yeah.
Mika goes after her, but he doesn't take the camera. We never see what occurs outside because the camera stays in the bedroom. Yeah. Think about what the later films would do. Someone would have grabbed that camera. In
a sheer panic, they'd always grab the camera.
Yep.
Which would never happen.
Yeah, yeah. And their relationship's in a lot of trouble before this as well. So we never see what's happening there. And I quite like that. But it also shows as well, like shows the demon bit Katie and stuff like that. So it's like bite marks, you know, quite big bite marks. And I think that convinces Mika that it's time to leave, just leave the house. The plan is to go to a motel, but Katie's trying to get Katie out is the problem now. Yeah. She's holding like a cross that's made her hand like strong enough to make it like a hand bleed, that kind of thing. But when they're about to leave, Katie doesn't want to leave now. Yeah. She's like, no, she wants to stay. They'll be okay, basically, stay here, that kind of thing. And this is the end of the movie. Yeah. This is the end of Paranormal Activity. You know it's coming because it's like, okay, why would you suddenly switch? Yeah. You think, oh, right, she's fully possessed now or under the demon's control. We get the same thing, night 21, which is the last night. She gets out of bed, she stares at Mika for a bit, and then she leaves the room. Again, remember static camera, sitting in the room, we don't see it. Then we just hear her screaming for Mika. Yeah. He jumps out of bed, rushes down the stairs, and you hear him screaming in pain. Yeah. We don't know what happened. No. At this stage, we don't know what happened. Yeah. You then hear like thumping footsteps, like really heavy footsteps, which obviously as Katie comes back up the stairs into the room. And you see her sort of Mika's body flung towards the camera at high speed. And it's Katie sort of standing in the doorway kind of thing. She's got blood. Yeah, she's got blood on her shirt. She's wearing like a tank top and shorts. She's got clear blood on there. And it kind of ends there where she gets close to the camera and then like her face becomes like a demon and lunges towards the camera and you hear her kind of growl. And then you get some text saying Mika's body was discovered by the police, but Katie had vanished. Yeah. And that is Paranormal Activity. Thoughts overall? I think like, I will always praise the low budget nature of this movie. It is incredibly low budget. Supposedly, production was $15,000 and post-production was £215,000. So effectively about $230,000, not pounds, dollars, should I say. Yeah. The box office have made $193 million. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus Christ, that's incredible. And of course, we have to acknowledge the fact that it was directed, produced and written by one man, Oren Peli, and it literally starred 2 people. You can't get any more indie, low budget than this. And that will always be praiseworthy. Yeah, 2. It's mainly them 2. Yep. And the demonologist. For a brief scene. But apart from that, there's no one else. So, yeah, fair play to them. Absolutely. Mark Friedrichs, who played Dr. Friedrichs. This is an incredibly tight, small, confined movie that had this just been a sole thing, I think would reflect on it a lot more strongly. Yeah. Agreed? Definitely, because you've always got the mystery is quite creepy as well, that they brought up a few points of family fire, troubles when she was younger. It just sprinkles in stuff there. Do you know, it just sprinkles in stuff there. But of course, 3 years later we would get 2010, we would get Paranormal Activity 2, which would be effectively a rethread, so to speak, and then to tie into the original movie. Directed by Todd Williams this time, and scarily written by 3 people. And I say scarily because if you have that many writers, that is too many cooks. It is generally that. Christopher B. Landon, Michael R. Perry and Tom Pafst, which to me is a real fucking problem. Bigger cast this time as well. We have Sprague Graydon as Christy, Brian Boland as Daniel Ray, who is the husband of Christy Ray, Molly Ephron as Ali Ray, which is his daughter, not her daughter. Katie Featherston is in this, and we'll explain why. Mika is in it. We'll explain why. We've got a couple others as well, like Vivius Cortez as Martine, the nanny housekeeper, and 2 young babies who would play Hunter Ray, the newborn baby. So let's get it out of the way. This is directly linked into the first one. Christy is the sister of Katie. They were both young. She's slightly over 2 years older, something like that. Not much. They're not twins, but they are very, very around the same age. A year to 2 years between them being born. So she's the older sister of Katie, who lives fairly local, I believe. Fairly local. I don't know if it actually lists it where it is. No, it doesn't. But
same state, perhaps. I mean, they drive. I think they all drive. So
it's
hard to kind of tell in America.
I mean,
what close is.
Let's get it out of the way. It's so linked in that Katie and Mika will appear several times throughout visiting Christy, who has just had a new baby. The movie literally opens with them bringing the baby back from the hospital, this young baby, starting in August 2006, and it will actually go a longer period over that time because the baby becomes a toddler, so to speak. Maybe a year to two, enough that it can stand up and move around on its own. On that front, so it's very, very intrinsically tied into the first movie to the point where the main camera that's used in this, is actually the one that Mika ends up with. Briefly, he starts to play around with it and get quite interested in it. But the demon stuff starts here. This is actually where it starts, and we have a great and straightforward reason as to why. They put in security cameras into the house, which is a burglary. It looks like a burglary that occurs. The house is wrecked. Just Hunter's bedroom is the one that's left alone, Hunter being the newborn baby. And the only thing that was actually stolen in the burglary they discover is a necklace that Katie gave Christy.
That's it.
And basically, paranormal stuff happened. Let's just gloss over this as much as we possibly can. Paranormal stuff happen. We get lots of family stuff, but truth be told, they're not attention grabbing in any way, shape, or form. Sprague Graydon and Brian Boland, the couple, they're there. I don't love Sprague Graydon in this. Christy, it just isn't that likable. Do you think?
No.
I don't really.
Overall, no.
No, absolutely. If there's anyone that kind of is likeable or a bit more interesting to watch, and we're pushing it here, is Molly Ephraim as Ali, the daughter, maybe. That's about it. But even then, it's basic teenage shit. Boyfriend sneaks over and used as a scare as well. Banging on like the patio door. They're just not good characters. You're just kind of waiting.
It's a vehicle for the story.
Exactly that. Exactly that. But strange things starts going on. Martine, who is the housekeeper we mentioned, she starts to do rituals and stuff like that, which ends up getting her fired. I think it's a little over the top. I said it at the time. Not very, very nice. But Christy starts to believe the house is haunted. That stuff. This is where Daniel starts to review the footage, but Daniel doesn't believe. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Which brings Christy and Katie to have that conversation about when they were younger, in kind of tying it into the first film. There's not a lot more added to the lore here. It's just kind of, I think, strengthening that side of thing, if that makes sense. And it's Ali who ends up being a bit more investigating kind of thing, and she discovers that humans can make deals with demons for wealth, power, and all that. And what do you give up? The soul of your first-born son.
Oh, which would be
Hunter. But if the deal isn't fulfilled, the demon will stick to the family until another son is born. And Hunter was the first male to be born on Kirsty's side since the 1930s, apparently. So it's all making sense, basically. It escalates. It's that, it escalates. I don't think there's anything really significant that ever really happens. This is one of this film's problems. Is it never has a moment, I believe, that makes you go, oh, I'm going to remember that. Name me some of the scares off the top of your head.
I think the one I'm thinking of, I think is from the third one, so I'm getting confused with mine then. The kitchen with everything drops, that's the third one.
Yeah, the kitchen has all the doors open.
I think sometimes in these films, a lot of the American kitchens all look pretty similar.
Yeah.
They're all huge and all open plan, so I think that's probably why I can forgive myself for not getting that one right. But the second one, Sam's their dog.
The dog?
The dog gets killed.
Hurt. Hurt. The pan that keeps dropping. There's a pan that keeps dropping.
Yeah. There's the pool.
The pool cleaner thing keeps ending in it. In fact, this is how absurd this movie has at moments. Is you physically see in a video one of the tapes, the pool cleaner being removed from the pool on its own. And then it's just like, oh my God, must just be like a crazy pool cleaner thing. It's like, okay then. Okay then.
Maybe not.
It's not got very memorable scares. What's it call it? But it does get good near the end, where Christy is assaulted after the dog is taken. So the dog is taken to the vets by Daniel and Abby, leaving Christy alone with Hunter. Christy is attacked by the demon, dragged down into the basement. And we see that she was in the basement for an hour. Yeah. About an hour, I believe it is. The basement doors open, out walks Christy, and she's obviously, like, from what we see, you can see she's not right anymore. The next day, she goes to her father, basically. That Christy doesn't seem right. She won't get out of bed, that kind of thing. Yeah. So sick, and so on. And she reviews the footage, sees what happens, checks in the basement, and sees that the inside of the door was covered in scratches. And the word meus, M-E-U-S, it's Latin for mine, is written into it. I do like that. Yeah. I like that because it suggests Christy was on the other side trying to get out. Yeah. While she was, whatever was happening to her.
Yeah, little things like that. Always notice.
Yep. So Ali, properly scared and so on, looks into it, sees that Christy has a bite mark on her leg, which again links into the original, because that's what happened to Katie just before it really, really goes over the top. Christy does get out of bed for this and confronts Ali when Ali's going to touch Hunter, demanding that she doesn't touch her. She contacts her dad, demands he gets home, like, come home, there's something's not right. She's quite upset, obviously. Yeah. Daniel comes home. He reviews the footage and is basically like, all right, this shit's weird. Yeah. So, not really knowing what to do, he contacts Martine. He contacts Martine to help. Yeah. And Martine, comes and is going to give the whole an exorcism, so to speak. I mean, something like that. And it does actually work. So what they end up doing is a ritual that passes the demon onto another member of your family. And Daniel he passes it on. Okay, there's a little bit of dispute between him and Ali over this, but he's more concerned about his wife. Yeah. He basically pushes the demon out into the sister, Katie. Yeah. The events of the first film. Yeah. There you go. That's how the demon suddenly started haunting Katie. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, because the way to read the stories and stuff like that. And it might seem selfish on Daniel's part, but he's got a wife and a kid to kind of think of. So that's his thought process of... Yep. I suppose he doesn't know the full extent. He knows the demon's it's not a nice thing, but I'm not sure he knows the full extent of it. And then it's up to Katie and Mika to kind of get rid of the demon. Yeah. So, not a nice situation, but other people would make the same one.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know.
It's a bizarre situation.
It's a bizarre situation, as you say. But, Ali argues with him about it. It isn't like it's just a family decision. It's something Daniel does to save his wife. Yeah. Then we cut to many weeks later, and Katie basically talking to Christy. I keep saying Kirsty. Christy. Yeah. And telling her about the strange events that started to occur in her house. Obviously, Christy has no memory of what occurred to her. So, that's why it's never really followed up there. But it basically is like, okay, we're at that point now. We've now fully crossed into this point. And we jump in time to the night Mika is killed at Katie's house. We basically see it from the perspective of Daniel. So Ali's away on a school trip. So it's Christy upstairs with Hunter. And Daniel is sitting on his couch. And it's, I don't mind this one. Because you see Katie coming in behind him. She sort of disappears and then she reappears and she's behind him. Yeah. And it's simple. She snaps his neck. It's very quick, very instant. She kills him. We then cut to the camera upstairs where Christy hears Katie coming up the stairs. And Katie just walks in with force and slams... Obviously, with demonic power, slams Christy into the camera. Yeah. You then see her pick up Hunter, and she walks out. Yeah. We get one more bit of footage which shows that Katie's walking out of the house, like out of the front door with the baby. We get a bit of evidence to explain what Ali was. She came home and found the bodies, and that is Paranormal Activity 2. It's not very good. It's simple. Yeah. It's just not very good. It is really as simple as that. It doesn't do enough to make... It doesn't hold the attention in the way the first one does. Yeah. And the issue as well is it lacks that unique feel the first one had. Yeah. You're just hitting a lot of the same beats. Yeah. But your positive is that, okay, we are doing a bigger story here. And I will never complain about, here's parts of number one, we're now tying it in. Yeah. How can you complain about that? Yeah. It
was quite sensible, having never seen the flip side of the other sister and the difference of personalities. I feel like I could do more with it. Like we've seen like the slow burn of a Paranormal Activity. Yep. Why don't you go more in this one?
Well, as I said about the trilogy, innit? There's enough in this that makes you think you could have maybe tacked on half an hour extra into the first film and made this into one complete story.
Yeah. Yeah, for the sort of like...
For the very first... Yeah, there's your first film, Kiss.
Making it end...
Yeah.
It could end the same way as well.
Yeah.
So, like, Katie went on a complete batshit possession killing spree that night.
Yeah, we cut to that. Yeah, we were doing both families at the same kind of time. The problem is obviously, the only problem with that is obviously you have this issue where you would be ramping up at the wrong times. And for a first film, that's a problem in itself. I'm not sure how it could have been done, but that's what I think anyway. Budget of 3 million, earned 177.5. I mean, again, fucking hell. Yeah, that is insane. Yeah. Number 3, the best one. The best one because it is a prequel. Yeah. And in that sense. Yeah. Directed by Henry Jost and Ariel Schulman. 2 directors this time. And written by Christopher B. Landon, who was involved in the second one. So only one writer. Broke financial records upon release, setting a new record for a midnight opening for a horror film. 8 million budget. The best opening day for a horror film in the United States was 26.2 million.
That's big bucks.
Big money earned on this. I mean, I'll tell you now, we'll go to the budget right now. Let's do it now. 5 million, so the same budget as the third film. 207 million.
That's a big amount.
What? Begins in 2005 with Katie again, as she's delivering a box of old videotapes to her pregnant sister, Christy. So we've gone before those first 2 films. It's basically footage of the young when they were young. That's basically what it is. And it now ties into this, where we then jump to a year later, and during the ransacking of their house, the tapes are missing.
Yeah.
Yes, and we are going to watch those tapes.
Yeah.
That is what it is. Set in 1988, as the young Katie and Christy are living with their mother, Julie, and boyfriend, Dennis. Cast is Chris Smith plays Dennis. One of the best characters and most likeable of the bunch. Yeah. Absolutely. Lauren...
Enjoyed his performance.
I did indeed. Enough that I was very... I wasn't upset, but I was disappointed when obviously he dies at the end. Spoilers, you should know that. Yeah. Lauren Bittner as Julie, the mother of Katie and Christy. She's all right in this. Yeah. She's all right. I wouldn't really get too excited about it. Chloe Kasengari?
Chloe Sengari.
Sengari as young Katie. And Jessica Tyler Brown as young Christy. And of course, the adult ones previously, Sproul Graydon, Katie Featherston, they all appear at some point as themselves. The other notable name we will say is Hallie Foote, Grandma Lois. So basically, strange things occur in the house. We kick in straight away. Yeah. The imaginary friend of Christy called Toby. It's the very first time we hear the name of what will be the demon. It is Toby. Yes, Toby. Spelled with an I apparently, not a Y. Which is strange.
It's weird, it's not written down anywhere, so why
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, exactly. What's important about here, 1988 technology. So Dennis is a budding videographer.
For like weddings and stuff.
Weddings and stuff like that. So he has equipment and he has basically a brand new camera. And he's Julie's new boyfriend. He's not the father of these children. He works hard at ingraining himself. He's very, very personable. He's very, very likeable. It all makes sense. The first sort of significant event in this, because a lot of it's just filming stuff that you would, home videos. Yeah. He's playing around with a camera, it's birthdays, it's stuff like that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And Toby just exists. He's just there. And strange things start to occur for our visual pleasure. Kind of emphasised by the sex tape that Dennis and Julie tried to make. And in an earthquake happens. And during the earthquake, you kind of see dust falls on a figure, like as if someone's standing there on them. That's what gets Dennis's real attention. And he's like, oh, that's odd. So, along with his friend Randy, it's like, why don't you put cameras throughout the house? Do you know what I mean? Put up some kind of cameras. Which is their explanation for how we get a few... They're not security cameras, but other cameras. It's not modern day. It's 1988. And they're limited. There's only a few, which again is a nice touch. We'll get to an idea he comes up with later on, which is one of the franchise's best ideas.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And through that, we see certain strange things occur with Christy, where she's talking off screen to like the demon and Toby and stuff like that. It's when the babysitter arrives, Julie, that she gets involved in a lot of terrifying incidents and stuff like that, that we kind of get there. And one of the best scares come here. So, wanting to capture more, because he keeps seeing Christy talking and he can't capture it. He comes up with the idea of basically taking apart a fan and putting a camera on top of the fan so it moves.
Takes the motor out. Yeah, it takes up, attaches it to the fan motor.
Yeah. So the camera will move like a fan does, back and forth. So with one position, he can capture the living room at one stage and the kitchen at another, which allows the film to go, this is a good chance for scares. Because you will get a lot of, something happened there, but the camera then moves and it comes back. And this involves the babysitter and it involves the sheet. It's the sheet scare. Where there's a figure behind her standing in a sheet. And then it just drops and there's nothing there. It's fucking really well done because it takes ages. Each time you come back around, you're waiting. Each time you come back around, you're waiting. And then like back around, oh my God, there's someone standing in a sheet. And then it goes back.
Really effective. And
then you're waiting, you're coming back, and then poof. Like really, really effective stuff. Really, the fact we remember it compared to the others, I think speaks fucking volumes on that front.
I think another one that's like the same, using that same camera. Is what I mentioned earlier, was when it goes back to the kitchen. It's such a split second one of everything from the kitchen sides is up in the ceiling. And it just drops in a mighty crash. So everything on the countertops just drops. And that was really effective. That's probably the two most effective scares I believe in this. And Dennis, he becomes a little bit more interested in this and so on, and starts to fully investigate, especially when Christy says that her and Toby aren't friends anymore. He ends up finding like symbols and stuff drawn in their little like cubby hole, a closet. Which leads to Christy becoming ill. Julie and Dennis take her to the hospital. Randy stays behind with Katie. They play Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary in the bathroom. And he gets attacked by the demon here, bitten on his torso. Another bite situation. On his way out, more stuff happens. Things get flung around. It's basically ramped up quite quickly in regards to that. And when they come back, Randy's like, look, man, he's taking his gear and he's leaving. And he tells Dennis, like, stop playing around. This shit's dangerous. I got bit. This isn't fun, basically, anymore. Dennis really goes deep into this, and he ends up discovering that the symbol belongs to a witch's coven. We finally get our first reference to the witch's coven here. And basically brainwash girls of childbearing age into having sons, and then give those sons up to demons. That is basically what they did, and they don't remember. Julie, unfortunately, as a cat, we need one of these characters. No. And the demon attacks Katie, basically. So it attacks Katie until Christy agrees to deal with her arse. It basically does a blackmail thing like that. It's, locks her in a cupboard, that kind of thing. And Christy, basically, whatever the demon wanted, it wanted her to do this. She asks her mother to take him to go see grandmother Lois, who's in a different part of California. She obviously isn't going to do it at first, but scary stuff continues happening. Frightening activity. The plot stuff, the stuff you described happens here. Let's call it. And they go to stay at Grandma Lois's, basically. Grandma Lois always comes across like a very friendly, nice woman, stuff like that. But when Julie wakes up in the middle of the night while they're staying there, she doesn't come back. So Dennis gets up and goes to look for her. And this is the biggest ramping up of all. He finds occult imagery in the wall. It's like the house has transformed into a fucking occult place. Imagery in the wall. There's always this triangle with a circle in the centre. It's the major thing. In fact, it shows that it was behind a painting. There was a painting of a weird unicorn thing. You take that down, the symbol was there. That's quite important because that will actually come back in later films. The symbols as well that you saw that were in the girl's bedroom. Now, unfortunately, Paranormal Activity 3 is the first start of things going, no, stop. Is he took the camera. He went to go find out where his girlfriend was and was like, I'll take the camera for this. Wait, what? No.
Wait, what? No. Looking around, he goes out on a sort of walkway part to another part and finds women dressed in black, including Lois. They're all dressed in black. And they're obviously not there for friendliness.
No, there's something weird going down.
Absolutely. He runs back into the house. They're chasing him. They chase him into the house. He closes the door. And I do like this. He sees Julie at the top of the stairs. And he's like walking up. And as he gets up, you get a bit more of a height thing. And you see she's actually levitating. So basically she's being held up by her throat. And her feet are above the ground. And the body is then thrown on him. Knocks him down the stairs. She's dead at the bottom. He runs into Christy and they hide together as the demon leaves, basically. He then, again, he comes out, they're walking around, you see more stuff. He sees like the women around a bonfire, very witchy bonfire, women sort of around it, that kind of thing. And then find Katie next to Julie's body. She's crying. when he goes to touch Katie, she screams, does the demon stuff. She does the whole rah thing, screaming at him, and he's not back. He's hurt and crawling on the floor. He's no longer holding a camera, thankfully, but the camera's position where we see him crawling. I don't like this one. This is I just don't. I guess because I like the cat. I mean, I don't like it in the sense that it's, that's horrible. I guess because Dennis is likable so much,
and he's even trying to help. Even at the end, he's still trying
crawling
to help
towards.
The girl.
Well, yeah, because basically Lois has stepped in the frame, and she's standing. She's sort of standing in frame, and as he's crawling towards her, his body kind of gets contorted backwards, snapping his spine.
Yeah,
it looks good.
Yeah,
it looks good, and it's a really that's horrible end for him. Lois reaches out for one of the other girls, and Christy and Katie, and tells them like time to get ready. And they head upstairs. And as they're going upstairs, kind of Christy stops and calls for Toby to come with them. That's the movie. That's the movie. That's our tie-in kind of thing. I love it. I think it's a very, very good movie. Story-wise, plot-wise. I realise this, though. Although it's the best one, it wouldn't work if we didn't have 1 and 2. Like, it wouldn't work. It'd be that effective in that sense. You know, it could have been... You could say... That's why when I said the trilogy, I'm saying like this movie should still exist.
Yeah.
As the second one.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It should exist. Absolutely. It's got some of the better characters. The 2 children, the young girls, Chloe and Jessica, are very, very good. Yeah. Very, very good. They do a good
job on it.
Absolutely. And, you know, Chris Smith as Dennis is the highlight for me. He's one I'm going to remember. I always remember from this franchise. As someone who's generally likeable, more interesting, and has good cause for a lot of the decisions he makes.
And you say... When you care about the characters, you want them to kind of escape this demon, and the fact they don't is like, oh, this films are going to be. These films don't care about giving us the happy ending you want for these characters.
There's none. There's never a happy ending.
Yeah.
There's never a happy ending.
That's a good point to make about these films.
Absolutely.
You never get the kind of they escape. It's like no. There's not even like they escape and then something carries on. It's like no. They just pretty much die.
Yeah, and I'll also praise the character Grandma Lois, who is, when she's dropped in the earlier films, you know, she's just visiting, she's a very kindly elderly woman. And at the end, you get that sense of sinister power from her. And I do like that. Yeah. I do like how it all comes together. It's very, very neat and tidy. It is a very, very good movie. If you're watching like we did, 1, 2, and 3, and you were put off by 2, continue to 3. Yeah, continue to 3. Unfortunately, it's about to go really wrong. Yeah. Which brings us to the worst one of the franchise. Yeah. And here's the thing. I say the worst one as if the next 2 are so good. Yeah. They're not in that sense. But this is the worst one. This is the one when we talked about at the start. That is such a fucking waste of time. Yeah. Literally, there are about less than 5 minutes of footage that you could attach to the main story. Yeah. The rest is such pointless nonsense.
Waste opportunity.
It's just a waste of time. It shouldn't exist. And although we will say it was incredibly successful, you can see the difference. Remember, number 3 was made at a budget of 5 million and made over 200 million back in its box office receipts. This was also made for 5 million and did 142. Ooh. Don't get me wrong. Fucking hell. Is that eye-watering.
That's an amazing return, but still not as strong as...
And you know the studio would have noticed. Would have been like, what did we do wrong there? Yeah. You know? Directed again by Ariel Schulman and Henry Joost. And once again, written by Christopher Landon, but with a story from Chad Fian. So, you know, again, basically very similar to the number 3. Which you will really... Here's the thing about this film. You're going to notice all the tropes. Yeah. You're going to recognise every little bit of thing. Originality is going out the fucking window at this stage. It opens and shows the ending of number 2. Number 2, where Katie takes Hunter and then she walks out. Because that is the important part of the plot of the franchise as a whole. Yeah. We're now set 5 years later, November 2011. We're introduced to the Nelson family in the wealthy, very wealthy suburb of Nevada, Henderson. So characters, we have Catherine Newton as Alex Nelson. She is a main star. Yeah. And unfortunately, as bland as they come. Yeah. Downright irritating at times. Yeah. Yeah. Her boyfriend, Matt Shively, plays Ben.
Bland as well.
Couldn't wait for him to die. Yeah. Couldn't wait for him to die. Didn't like him at all. We, of course, got Wyatt Nelson Aiden Love Camp. Does very well for a child. Does very, very well, particularly with some of his dialogue that he's asked to say. Particularly later on when a certain reveal happens, which we will get to. We have another child called Robbie, played by Brady Allen. Again, going to praise him.
Yeah, did a good job.
He was asked to be a creepy fuck.
And he was.
And he delivered.
Yeah.
Good lad. The father, Stephen Dunham, Doug. He might as well not be in this film. Who cares? And the mother, Alexandra Lee, who also might as well not be in this film. Because what they're here for is nothing, really. Katie Featherston reprises her role as Katie. Of course. Yeah. And that's basically the important people. So the story is basically surrounds this family and a young son, Wyatt. And which the filming style of this film we'll have to get to first, I think, more than anything else. It is predominantly based upon web cameras in laptops.
Oh, yes.
Which has caused me such outrage. I stopped the movie and basically ranted at you for 5 minutes about how stupid and how you take my... How stupid do you think I am? That this is believable. Yeah. Like, it is... And I could not understand, considering how stupid this plot point is, why they didn't just go lazy and go burglary again. Yeah. Just to have a reason why we get cameras set up. Let's cover it now. Cameras are set up through this house in secret by Alex. Yeah. Because she thinks paranormal stuff is going on and she wants to prove it to her parents. Yeah. To do this, her boyfriend configures the laptops to always be recording. That's a question mark already. Yeah. What? But also as well, then you're like, well, laptops have batteries. They need to be charged. So they're obviously plugged in permanently. Okay, that's going to be a weird explanation. But also, what do you mean they're on all the time? She's like, there's one in the kitchen, one in the boys' room. Which is a crap one, because they make mention of it. They say, oh, what's this one? She went, Wyatt got my hand-me-down. So it's an old laptop. Yep, and capable of this thing. Yeah. Then we've got her handheld camera that she puts in and secretly hides behind a box or something in the living room. Yep. And then we've got her own one for her room, where conveniently she falls asleep all the fucking time. Now we get to this because basically her boyfriend accidentally, my laptop just does this, records her while she's sleeping, and he shows something strange happened in her room. And that's where they get this idea. So apparently he can set up all these laptops to be recording permanently. Fuck knows where that's been. Oh no, it's being saved in somewhere. Yeah. A place where she needs a password and all that to enter and then review the footage. Now, this is fucking insane. Bear in mind, I added it up. If she's asleep for 8 hours and there are 4 cameras running, 8 times 4? 8, 16, 24, 32. Right. 32 hours worth of footage that she's apparently going to review every single day. If you're scrubbing through, say you're scrubbing through it 2 times, you're not seeing anything. No. At best, you might go, okay, you got out of bed there, let me stop. Yeah. But what about the more subtle stuff? Boom, 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 gone. Yeah. No. And that is before you ever get to the point where you're like, oh, so the family just never noticed these laptops were always on. Yeah. And I use this. My camera I'm using right now, like all cameras, has a light to indicate it is recording. A laptop. If I use the web camera that's sitting here, lights come on. Yeah. How are they hiding this? I've not seen it. This is insane. This is absurd. And apparently this family are happy to leave their laptops running all the fucking time. Because no one ever goes over and goes, I'll switch that off. No. It looks like, at one point, it looks like the dad might, I'm not sure what the dad's looking at. It's like a weird sort of up-face shot of the dad. Like linked into a stare. I don't know what he's... I'll tell you what it was. Yeah. The laptop came out of standby mode. It kept coming on. So he was going over to go like, why is it coming on? Yeah. So he's not computer illiterate, so I get he may not understand what's going on there. That's fine. He even says that at a certain point in the movie. But it's recording while it's in standby? Yeah. What is this technology this boyfriend glosses over? Because they don't have a fucking sensible answer to it. That alone, to me, just removed me from the movie and went, this is dumb. Yeah. This is absurd. Yeah. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And that's the biggest fucking problem with it. So, I mean, basically, the major plot of the point is the neighbour. There is a secret neighbour who fell ill and asked the Nielsen family to look after her young son. Yeah. Now, we understand this. because it's something I think most neighbours would do. Because they try and say, look, she's got no family, no friends and all that. But ultimately, they don't have an outstanding relationship with this woman, which is a problem in itself there. Yeah. So this boy comes, Robbie, and he's a weirdo. He's a little odd boy. A little bit of an odd
They even gave him sandals and socks to make just having the point home.
I liked one thing. You're right about that, but I want to develop upon that. To show you that this child, I don't know if it's neglect's the wrong word, but it seems like he's not right. It's not just a sandal and socks, because that's a kid, who cares? But later on, it's clear, like, oh, his trousers are too small for him. They're raised up above his ankles. Yeah. And his jumper's too big for him.
So he's not really paying much attention to it.
Basically, yeah, I really kind of like that. Kind of ties into the fact that he's, is strange at events. And it's all strange things like that. Alex sees toys laid out. She runs into Robbie. Robbie says he doesn't like you watching us, stuff like that. And then we got the chandelier scare where chandelier collapses from the roof and falls close enough to cause a good scare for her. Yeah. She's kind of constantly trying to tell her parents that Robbie's a bit of a weirdo. The parents just are never around. These children are left alone with her all the fucking time. Doesn't that drive you nuts?
It does. The idea of the parents not getting along seemed quite cheap, just to kind of keep the mum and dad apart, so that it was that kind of disjointed, that no one's really on the same page.
Yep.
Which becomes apparent when Alex can't sleep properly.
Yep.
So she starts taking. So she's given sleeping pills.
Oh, that's right at the end. Way at the end.
Oh, okay.
You've gone way too far with that.
Okay. No, but just in general, like the parents are not on the same page.
Yeah, I know it's said, but I think they could have done more of that. I said to you, we've needed a fight. We needed an argument where she's talking to Ben across the webcam and you can hear them arguing in the background. You needed more of that. Sixth night, Alex sees a lot of cars parked outside Robbie's house. And she goes to investigate and runs into a woman. It's another jump scare. A woman's like, can I help you? And she runs away. Oh, sorry, that kind of thing. That's a witchy link kind of thing. Because if you've seen the previews, you know what these women in black mean. Robbie ends up drawing lots of symbols on Wyatt. Lots of like witchy symbols. And they find the link between one on his back, which is the ancient symbol, the triangle with the circle in it, and read up about it and discover that it's a possession ritual requiring a virgin blood sacrifice. It could be you, you're virgin, bollocks like that. They have fuck all chemistry and they're both annoying, she ends up seeing while babysitting the next day that Robbie leading Wyatt out of the house, and they go into Robbie's house. Alex follows them and finds them playing around. At this point, Wyatt's become very distant, very untalkative to Alex. They used to be quite close, apparently. And now it's kind of like he doesn't want to talk to her. I don't want to tell you anything, that kind of thing. But this is where we meet Robbie's mother, and it's Katie Featherston. It's Katie.
Yeah.
She seems fine.
Yeah.
She thanks her.
She makes a little reference.
A reference that, you picked up on.
Yeah, she ruffles Wyatt's hair and goes, oh, he looks just like his mother. Which could obviously mean he looks like his mother. No, because at that point, I don't know if the older sister knows. Did she know?
They know he's adopted because it comes up. So I'll say this right now. Let's get it out. Wyatt is adopted. And who does that make him then? It's Hunter. It's Hunter. He's adopted. Yeah. This family adopted him. Yeah.
They went to lengths to make sure that he looks. Because at the very beginning, I said, "Oh, he's got dark hair." Like the rest of the family are quite blonde. So this dark-haired boy, where's he coming from?
Yep.
So.
Yeah. So we get probably the film's most effective scare coming up. So earlier on, and I think it's pretty well done. Yeah. To a degree, it's the one I think stands out the most. Yeah. And it's earlier on when the mother was making and cutting carrots. She hears a noise, goes off to look, and the knife flings up. And she comes back to cut and look, and you're kind of waiting and expecting it to fall down. Yeah. And obviously probably not kill her, but get close to killing her. And it doesn't. So, okay. It does come back to this. And you talked about it. It's when the father's actually looking at the laptop. And as he stands back up, the knife falls down very close to him and beds it into their chopping board. It's a good scare. He's rightfully freaked out. I actually think this is his best acting moment. Because his face says, I can't explain this. Yeah. He's interrupted by his wife telling him to come upstairs. This implies they had a fight. Yeah. And he was going to sleep downstairs. Yeah. She's like, can you just come upstairs? Can you go upstairs? And he's like, but not. And she's like, can you come upstairs? It's fine. I don't mind this. you know what I mean? And he does go upstairs. I actually don't mind all of that. More Wyatt stuff, when you hear basically him denying that he's Hunter. He's being told he's Hunter by the demon.
Like, no,
and he's like, I'm not Hunter. Ramping up towards the end, the bath scene. It's the bath scene where he's in the bath while his mother's kind of busying about, and he gets dragged underwater. Pretty well done, because it's the web camera in the laptop that's viewing this as well. Remember the permanently recording laptop? You can be
watching something.
He's watching something. You can be doing anything you want, and this is apparently recording all the fucking...
Yeah.
Even as I say, I'm just like, shut up, film, shut up. And he's under the water for a good amount of time. And you're kind of waiting for him to come back out. I thought you expected him to come out gasping for air.
No, he's just calmly.
He doesn't. He just sits up. And it's clear that it's that stuff, basically. Yeah. Basically, we then ramp up to Katie's stuff as we see her in the house. She's now in the house, and Alex is there alone again. Some good garage scare stuff here. I like the subtlety of this. It's probably too late for the movie, and perhaps would have been earlier, but she hears the garage door opening. We get all this horror. The problem is it's horribly shot, and she's carrying an open laptop constantly around with her.
So when she puts it on the floor to get into the... So what happens is the garage door closes. It's like an automatic posh house. It automatically closes. Then the car automatically starts kicking out all the exhaust.
Yeah, she gets trapped in the garage,
revving up. And she obviously puts the laptop down so she can smash the car window to get into and turn the car off.
It's an action-packed sequence. It's really a rare thing for this film, and maybe one of the minor positives where it's quite action-packed as the place is filling up with exhaust, the sound of the engine, she smashes the window and then backs it and like puts it in the gear and backs it, smashing it through the garage doors. It's one of the more action-packed sequences of the movie. During while that's going on, Katie talks to Wyatt and said that she'll wait until he's ready. Something like that about until him being ready. The parents come home. I don't know, man. They're just like, like Doug is like, let's go to dinner. We'll talk about it. He's like, I want to believe what you're telling me. Let's go talk about it. It's like, your daughter doesn't smash up your car window and back it out the garage doors for nothing. This is maybe too much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
While they're out, the mother is killed. Poof.
Yeah.
Up against the thing. And Katie is the one that drags her body away. You see Katie dragging it away. Ben arrives, finds Alex not there. He wants to talk about the Coven thing. But when he sits at the laptop, Katie's behind him and she snaps his neck. We've seen it all before.
Yeah,
we've seen it all before.
Yeah,
just whatever. You know what I mean? We've done it. We've been there and so on. They arrive home and Doug thinks he saw his wife and Wyatt going into the other house, basically. Alex goes home, finds Ben's body. She hears his phone. She rings his phone and it's in her room. She finds his body and then is knocked down. She runs after her father to Katie's house. When she gets there, Doug's being dragged around and off sight. Very nice for the demon to wait for Alex to arrive with the camera. For us to see this, because Doug was already in that house a good 5 minutes. But no, we had to wait for Alex to arrive with her camera. Now, it's never explained what camera she's using at this stage. So we harbour a guess, phone. Yeah? Yeah. Got to be, right?
It'd be good enough by phone cameras would be good enough by then.
But obviously, you would go, I'm recording this.
Yeah. Phone would be first thing I'd drop as I'm running.
Yeah, the very first thing you're doing is press and record. My issue with that is, in a frantic moment, the footage would be... But it's not. It's not. Of course it's not, because it's a film. It wants us to see it. We then get, like, Katie running and shrieking and screaming like that. She jumps through a window, finds Wyatt in the backyard. But Wyatt looks behind Alex. She turns around. You get this kind of night vision shot of it's a creepy shot of hundreds. Well, maybe not hundreds. Dozens of rows of women walking towards her. She turns around. Katie lunges at her, and that's your movie. Yeah. It's such a fucking waste of time. I think we made it sound better than it is. Yeah.
I don't think did they ever explain what the little creepy boy was, Robbie?
Robbie just disappears. Robbie just disappears. Who was Robbie? What was Robbie?
I thought at first he was Hunter because I was doing the maths.
Yeah.
Very basic maths. Of how old he would be and the fact that he was on his own and from a weird house across the road. And I was like, oh, okay. That's Hunter. And that's how he comes into the story. But it turns out he's not. He's just a vehicle to get the boy to Katie.
Yeah.
So.
Who that boy is, where he is, why he is, doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. None of this matters. Because ultimately it's just simply to go, Wyatt's Hunter, and then we carry on. That's it.
Yeah.
Yet we probably didn't need all this. The reveal could have been better.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Definitely.
I think they preempted too easily. Because I think I would have gone down the route of the parents kept it quiet from Alex. She never knew he was adopted.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have gone, just some more sort of intrigue and more interest of the story would have been great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But think about what this movie offers us in regards to the witch stuff. What does it really add?
Yeah.
Nothing.
No, or like her parents making reference to when that woman moved in. They talked about her, but that was just blah chat. But some more reference to when she actually moved in and under the circumstances and have you ever been over there? And yeah.
Well, here's the biggest thing for me where you have to fill in the blanks too much, which is how on earth did they adopt Wyatt? So you end up going, okay, so she took Wyatt Hunter when he was a young boy, right? When he was a toddler, and he was put into the adoption system. And you're like, well, okay, that means there's legal stuff, right? There has to be stuff like you can't just adopt. So you go, okay, well, let's presume the witches were all involved in this, and it's all been set up. Yeah. Fuck me, that's a bit of a leap. Yeah. Fuck me, you're asking me to fill in a ton. That's what the problem is with this film, isn't it? It's just so much like, wait, what? Yeah. What? But ultimately, the biggest criticism I have for it is its terrible characters, pointless family stuff, pointless fucking characters. And the filming style. This is the first of the next set of where it's just like head-scratchingly stupid. Where it's just like, this doesn't make any sense. If you love constant shots of the character Alex on her laptop or characters getting up close like that, you're going to love this movie. That's your jam. I mean, when did GoPros become a big thing? I'm not sure of the timeline of when GoPros became. But there wouldn't have been an explanation for it. There couldn't have been a fair explanation for it. That's the thing. It whatever reason, didn't just go, well, let's just do burglary again. Like, and it would have been lazy. But at least I could have been like, well, now we've got reason for those cameras to exist. But the problem with that is that involves the father. And they wanted to obviously keep the couple, the parents, as pointless and to the side as possible. You, teenage girl, you're the star. So we need you to be reviewing or looking at footage, apparently. 32 fucking hours worth of footage per day. And as well, I always feel that if your kid's clearly distressed and your other son, your son changes behaviour and your other sort of daughter's distressed, when do you start listening to them? Oh. You know, like... And they're trying to make it so that the parents are distracted by their own marital issues. But they needed to hammer that point home harder. They really, really did. There's no need for subtlety there. It doesn't make any sense to be subtle, particularly as you're going out. Subtlety is going out the window in this franchise. And at this point, at 4 movies in, you're still going, something's creeping and shaking about, and it's like, you're 4 films in, guys. Come on. Show us more what Toby can do. Yeah, it's time to ramp this shit up, you know? But obviously they didn't want to do that because they were thinking long-term franchise here. So they went with the laziest option possible, which is why it's the worst one. Yeah. Which brings us to the marked ones. We dropped numbers, but this is number 5, basically. Released on January 3rd, 2014 in the US. Written and directed by Christopher Landon this time. Things were going downhill. After 4, audiences were clearly getting tired, as this one was made on a budget of between 5 and 9.2 million, but only took in 90 million. Still, like, if it was made for 9 million, it made 10 times its budget. Yeah, that's an incredible amount of money. But you can see it's dropping away. The trend is going downhill. This is arguably the most standalone of the bunch, so to speak. Which I like. Up to a point, it does tie in to a degree. We'll get to those tie-ins, of course. But it is completely removed from what you normally expect from the series, which made the first 20-odd minutes to half an hour very good to watch. Very good to watch. I think this is a film that completely bollockses it up. Yeah. And it's why I think it's a bad film. Yeah. And I think the ending undoes so much goodwill that it's... you think I hated why number 4 used found footage. This one is inexplainable of how stupid the idea of constantly filming is. Absolutely absurd. Set in 2012, we open with the introduction of Jesse Arestia. Jesse is played by Andrew Jacobs. I think he's good. I think he's good overall. Does a good job. However, I like better. George Diaz, who plays Hector, is far better. Really, really. There's a particular scene, an emotional scene, later on that I think he sells really, really well. Marisol, played by Gabrielle Walsh. Irma, by Renee Victor. And there's lots and lots of others. This is a heavy cast. And you do get the likes of Katie Featherston, young Chloe, Chloe for young Katie, and Mika briefly appearing through footage more than anything else. Jesse's graduating. And that's a good thing. It's a very nice opening sequence where we're introduced to Jesse and his family and his best friend Hector. It's summer, they've graduated, they're planning to have a good time. They live in an apartment block, which is another welcome change. We're out of these huge, rich American houses.
They're like immense houses. And sometimes they're blended into one. And you're looking at it going, it's only the one in the 80s that sets it apart. Because it's like, big, huge houses. Yeah, so I like a different type of setting for that.
Absolutely. And a lot of this movie takes place outside. Different. But we are giving a lot of time to get to know Hector and Jesse. And their chemistry and relationship is wonderful. They're very likeable, both of them. Clearly good friends, young enough to still be fucking around in the street. And the idea of the camera is it's just to have fun with it.
Yeah, got a new camera, a new toy.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense. They're bumming around after graduating. One of them gets a job as doing the
sign spinning, advertising.
Yeah, so like just trying to kind of get by, young lads smoking weed and the rest of it. So
they're playing around. They do a thing with a GoPro where they attach a GoPro to their washing basket and push themselves downstairs. Very jackass style.
Very silly.
We also get to know how close the family is. The father works hard. We don't see much of him in this movie. The grandmother, very fun-loving. Very, you can tell they adore her. She's very important. The sister, they tease. They have a good relationship with. Though it's a lot of good family stuff.
It's nice, like the tequila scene and stuff like that, when the nan just does a tequila and it's like no big thing.
Yep.
And it's nice. It's a nice sort of change of family structure.
Yeah, it's really it's fresh. It's fresh. We also get to see the environment where you see they accidentally, don't mean to, fuck them on the camera. They're basically filming a gang, and the gang rep badly, and you get the impression it's not a nice area. We've gone from rich American homes in suburbs to poor neighborhoods, basically, which is such a stylistic change. It's worthy of praise. It really, really is. But the basic crux of the story is who lives below Jesse, and it's Anna, an elderly woman who is said to be a witch, that kind of thing. She's weird, and everybody kind of teases her and stuff like that, that kind of thing. We do see her a few briefly here and there as well, but it kind of ramps up when they hear what they believe is someone having sex in Anna's flat. And in Jesse's room is a vent that basically goes down, a vent that's throughout
through the walls.
It's a shared vent, and you obviously got your vent cover. So they decide to put the GoPro on string down there. Very rare for the franchise, but you get nudity here. Full frontal nudity as well, as they film a young woman standing naked while a naked Anna draws symbols on her stomach. They freak out when it looks like Anna sees the camera, and they pull it back up and stuff like that, and they're laughing off, thinking it's just weird and stuff like that. It's their classmate Oscar, that really prompts the story getting going. They see him coming out of Anna's one day, and he doesn't talk to them. And then while out playing around with the camera, he comes bursting out of Anna's upstairs window and panicked and runs off. And it turns out that Anna's dead, has been shot. She is dead, and Oscar is obviously the prime suspect, particularly as he was seen running away. Obviously, he is the prime suspect. Why? Who knows? They end up deciding, they get high. They get high and decide they're going to break into Anna's apartment, across the police tape and stuff like that, and investigate. And they find lots of things that suggest black magic, that she might actually have at least been practicing a witch, that kind of thing. And journals and spells, and talks about creating doorways. It's our first reference to doorways, which will become a franchise.
A bigger thing.
We should know as well that every film always drops in something brand new to the lore to create a bigger thing. It's not always necessary. And overtly complicates it, and also says this is why you made this movie.
I think it's creeping up, having the whole clan of coven of witches that wanted babies and would mark you up. And
now we've got time travel. Now we've got time traveling doors. Time traveling doors, which is just like, I don't know if I can buy into this. And they find VHS tapes, and those tapes are the tapes from Paranormal Activity 3. They are the tapes. So there's a link. There's our early link, which suggests that they were then stolen from this family in the second film, and so on, basically. So then after that, sort of paranormal events, not small things occur in the apartment, nothing we actually see. They talk about them.
Yeah.
We never see it. And it kind of wraps up when they play, I don't know what that game is. It's a game board where it will light up and you've got to copy the...
Yeah.
Is it Simon Says, effectively?
I think it's called Simon or something like that, because I think they play with it in like Family Guy or something. They do it where someone gets obsessed with it. Or
Yeah,
like
so like you press a light and it will do a sequence of lights, green, red, yellow, and you've then got to follow the sequence and it ramps up. But through this, they find they're able to communicate through identity. Green light for yes, red light for no, which they find kind of fun. One morning, Hector comes in the wake of Jesse, and Jesse discovers he's been bitten on his arm and his blood. He doesn't really know why. From this, Jesse then discovers he's got superhuman abilities. This is the first point of the film where I'm like, I'm not sure how I like this.
Yeah. There was a couple of bits that you could have got away with of him showing his newfound
abilities.
Powers. Yeah. I suppose it was just to kind of show him. I think it was clever on the demon's part to show a teenage boy this is kind of like the cool shit you can do before it all goes to hell, and you are literally just taken over and you're just used in their diabolical plan. But the way it was done was a little bit tacky, a bit cheesy. It
is. We kind of jump cut between him showing different things. So like, basically the predominant is that it's clear the demon is, I'm not going to let you get hurt.
Yeah.
So he falls backwards and he's just hovering there and stuff like that. He gets attacked by two thugs in the street, and the thugs are knocked away with force.
I didn't mind that. That one was alright.
That one was fine.
Because that was separate to the montage. There was one where he blew up an airbed.
Yeah, to blow up the airbed.
Yeah. It just blows up, and obviously his mate's not light. And he blows up in like 2 seconds.
2 seconds, but just pops up.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And the worst one of the bunch, the skateboard trick.
Yeah.
He jumps down, and it's like he leaps in the air super high and does a perfect ollie or whatever it's called, grind.
Yeah.
And it's so obvious when it becomes CG.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
The montage section is terrible. The thug thing, perfectly fine. I agree.
Yeah.
And this gives Jesse this new kind of confidence, and they end up crashing a gang party, where they get like hook up with two girls and bring them back. They can't go home. Grandmother's sleeping in the living room, and Hector's house has too many family members in it, he says. So they sneak into Anna's place. Jesse tells Hector to go away with the other girl so he can get it on with this girl. She's up for it.
Yeah.
They're game for it.
Yeah.
Bear in mind again, I mean, this is the first point where I was like, oh, come on. No one has a problem with the camera. This is all filmed. This is all filmed.
Yeah, but they show her.
Nope.
They show her looking at the camera, going, oh.
Nope.
She looks at it and just shrugs and just gets on with it. Like,
but why are they filming it? Why are they like at the party and constantly filming? Why then are they doing the filming part of coming home? Why would you're drunk? You've got girls. You're horny teenagers. You're not like, I'm just going to film. Oh, I'm going to film grandmother sleeping. I'm going to film us entering. It's just absurd.
Yeah.
And this isn't like I'm going to film secretly and show my mates that I'm banging this girl. That's not like say that then if you want, but that would make them unlikable.
Yeah, that makes them sleazy. Yeah.
Sleazy. So absolutely not. Jesse goes off to get some rubbers. I think she says that. Yeah. Well, he goes off to get a condom. Yeah. That much is clear. Leaving her alone. She then makes a wonder. I love this part because it's like, ooh, we both were like, nah, not going down there.
Nah.
She basically finds a hidden ring in part of the shag carpet, which reveals a trapdoor.
Yeah, no, I'm not dealing with that.
And it is very well done. But Oscar comes out, scaring her away, and Oscar looks towards camera. You see his eyes all black and all that. She runs off. Jesse comes back. She obviously runs into Jesse because Jesse comes in and he's looking for Oscar. And he finds Oscar in the bathroom during a potential scare. He turns out Oscar's there. Oscar tells him like it's only a matter of you're the same.
Yeah.
And it's only a matter of time before it's inside you.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time. That he should kill himself.
Yeah.
Before he hurts those he loves. He runs off. They run after him, and Oscar leaps to his death. Seemingly.
That's quite a good.
Well, he comes smashing down on the camera.
Yeah.
And I think it's very well done because it shows where he potentially made a jump from, which is the top of a church, and the realisation that was impossible. It was impossible for him to get up there.
Yeah.
So he probably got killed by the demon, lifted up and dropped. Yeah. Probably. They then investigate the trap door, and in there they find photographs of Jesse, including a picture that ties us back into the franchise as a whole, which is his mother pregnant with Anna and a woman they don't know. Yeah. But written on it is Lois. Yeah. It's Grandma Lois. I guess the COVID leader. I guess we kind of got a call of that now, really. Yeah. You know? From
this film, from what we've seen, then she's definitely like high up.
Yep. before they leave, they hear someone come into the apartment, and they kind of sneak out and see a woman in black leaving, which is obviously one of the witches come to collect something. And then it's just ramping up. Jesse kind of getting iller and iller and stuff like that. He hears his dog Chavo crying for help. He goes down the stairs and ends up encountering the possessed ghosts or spirits of young Katie and Kirsty, and then gets attacked by an unknown force. This is where it really ramps up. Jesse is completely different after this. Very violent. Very violent. He gets into it in a store for some reason with a guy who's talking to his sister. Yeah, there's nothing untoward about the way he's talking, but the intensity of how he reacts, and they physically can't stop him from trying to hit this guy. Yep. He's very rude to Hector, says he's not his best friend at all, and stuff like that. So Hector and his sister end up looking more into it, and they get in contact with Arturo, who is Oscar's brother, a criminal brother. We should add. We should also add that he's a criminal. Very clear. They made that very fucking clear, and that's very important for what will be later on. Yes. Arturo shows him Oscar's room and shows like Oscar was building like an evidence board, effectively. And one of the names on it is a name of Ali Ray. Now, shows you the mess of this franchise that we couldn't work out who this character was at the time. Yeah. And only afterwards do we realise that Ali is the daughter, the survivor of Paranormal Activity 2. Yeah. They end up meeting with her, and she basically... She's been investigating this coven now. That's her jam. That's what she's been doing. It makes sense if you've gone through all that situation. You wouldn't just go, oh, okay, that's totally normal. Your family's been wiped out by unexplainable circumstances. That would be your life investigating it. Absolutely. I'm fine with that, except for this. That's it. That is it. That's it. That's all she's there. She's there purely to give this coven a name. Yeah. The midwives. That's it. And they've been brainwashing women to give them the firstborn sons, create an army of possessed young men. Yeah. She gives them an address. She gives them an address where the final ritual is supposed to take place, and warns that Jesse will no longer exist if the demon fully consumes him. That's it. I would have liked it more if at the end we see that she's part of the coven. Yeah. And that she'd become part of it. Good. That would have made more sense, because then you'd be like, okay, that's fine then. But she's never seen again, and that is the end of her. Yeah. Basically, the plan is with the grandmother, we're going to do a ritual. Yeah. We don't want to call it an exorcism, because not everything is like that. No. But a ritual. And with Jesse, who at that point is almost comatose. We see he attacks the dog. He's kind of possessed and holding the dog up in the corner while the dog writhes in pain. I can see why, obviously, in like Mexican culture, there's a lot more beliefs with the dead and things like that. So obviously, ties into the grandmother would be very aware of this. There's a part earlier when they're playing that Simon game, where she just freaks out straight away. She's like, "Stop playing this game! Stop mucking around with this," and puts it straight away. So she's aware that something's not right. It's quite a well done scene with the actual the cleansing. The cleansing, yeah. The visit to the sort of witch doctor, if you want to call him that, didn't need to be done, I think. No, but it's related to eggs. Yeah. And something to do with eggs. And you're right, it's quite... Jesse sells it very, very well, where he's clearly pretty much possessed, and he's just like, whatever, just sitting up. Yeah, the egg she uses, puts in his... No, the egg she uses, she holds in her hand, and he kind of grips her hand and crushes the egg, and it's like blood. Yeah. Like really dark blood. That's quite nice. The show looked like anything they throw at this demon. It's very dismissive of it. It does that. Jesse's sneering face. It makes a sneering face. It's well done. Yeah. The lights go out and he disappears. And I consider this to be one of the worst parts of the movie. As we then sort of see the room warp as if he's gone in time. And then he appears out of nowhere, flying in the air, screaming, and everything shatters around him. Hated it. I thought it looked dumb as fuck. I really didn't like it. And it also creates confusion. If they're supposed to... So the idea is bit marked... You are a drone for the demon, a vessel for the demon. Why has he got such power then? Yeah. Like, he shouldn't have that much power. So then it kind of ends there. They put him to bed. Kind of hoping it's done. Yeah. Like that they've succeeded, because he falls unconscious and they put him to bed. The next morning he's still in bed. Hector, who is still filming all this, finds Jesse out of bed and gone. He then goes out and finds that Jesse pushed the grandmother down the stairs, and so she's taken away to hospital, that kind of thing. Jesse disappears after that point. All of this is still being filmed. On the way to the hospital, Hector and Marisol end up running into Jesse in the street, who attacks the car. All being filmed. Camera is still filming.
Yeah, there's got to be a point where you're like, please stop.
This is absurd. Yeah. This is absurd. Jesse ends up dragging Hector out of the car and he's choking him, and Marisol hits him with a metal bat. I do love the thonk. It's a very satisfying thonk. Yeah. And down he goes. They put him in the back seat and are planning to take him to hospital. But on the way, while still filming, because whatever, Marisol is still filming this. I don't know why. No. I don't know why. They're hit by a car, a black SUV that knocks into them. Awesome to watch because you can't see shit because of the cameras all over the place. Yeah. Whoever was in this car grabs Jesse and drives off. That convinces them that they've got to go save Jesse and they're going to go to this farmhouse, this house. Yeah. But they don't want to go alone, so they go to Arturo and ask for his help. He wants revenge for his brother. Yeah. So he gets one of his mates and they all agree to go to this farmhouse. Welcome to the worst part of the film. The worst part of the film, where I believe it just does all its good work. Because you know what Paranormal Activity needed? Guns. And shooting. Yeah. Oh, I don't know what. So let's touch upon the biggest thing for me. All of this is filmed. All of this is filmed. Yeah. Now, bear in mind what we have here are criminal members getting guns. We see them shotgun and an Uzi out of a gun. They don't have a problem with all of this in camera. They're going to start shooting and killing a load of women who, whatever they might believe, this is murder. Yeah. Not at any point did this gang members go, the fuck, bro? Turn that camera off.
Yeah, which is what happened at the beginning. So why is it different now?
It's absurd, but all this is filmed. This is all filmed, and no one has a problem with it. What is about to occur being caught on camera. There is one problem. Then we get to the obvious second. Why do you have this camera? This isn't attached to his head. Yeah. We see this earlier on where Jesse is pulling a gunk out of his eye, like black string, and to show like the demons inside him kind of thing.
Handheld, isn't it?
With a handheld camera. Yeah. This is, to me, it's the most absurd thing the franchise has done. And it is impossible to take seriously after that. We get lots of sneaking around his house. If you know if you watch Paranormal Activity 3, you will recognise this house. It is Grandma Lois's house. They sneak, the doors are locked, the doors are locked, the doors are locked. And then they just get attacked by screaming women. Yeah. And I just find it hilarious. Yeah. 2 are killed, shot with shotguns, and they fly. Yeah. They fly. Like, I get the force of a shotgun would knock you back, but one flies back with legs up, and it's like,
yeah,
really?
It's a bit stupid over the top.
Absolutely stupid. Arturo and his mate are killed, but his mate didn't lock the door, which allows Hector and Marisol to get inside. They end up getting separated. Hector still filming all of this, hides and runs. We later see Marisol come crashing down for a glass roof, right in front of Hector, who is still filming all of this. Yeah. He again gets chased by a possessed Jesse, who appears out of nowhere. He goes upstairs, locks the door. Jesse's outside and pretends like he's normal, let me in, but ends up smashing through the door, which prompts Hector to go for another door, which has all the symbols on it, which implies it's a timed door. The movie just about redeems itself. No, that doesn't redeem itself, but does something redeeming here. As we go through this door and he appears in another apartment. Yeah. Not apartment, sorry, a house. And you know your films? It is the house from the first film. It is Mika and Katie's house. Yeah. He's very confused. Still filming it all. Yeah. Still got the camera running, for whatever fucking reason. And we see Katie coming down the stairs in a trance. And she goes to the kitchen. He goes to talk to her. He touches her on her shoulder, and she turns around and starts screaming for Mika. It is what happened in the first film when you hear her screaming. Yeah.
So it's clearly like a break in the trance almost, catatonic state.
Yeah, because she freaks out because there's a strange man in her holding the camera as well. You know, there's that. Mika comes running down the stairs. Hector sort of moves and Mika falls sort of over a little bit. And then Katie comes running out and stabs him, which is how Mika was screaming and so on. After that, we see her stab Mika, basically. That's how that happened. He runs away and then runs into a fully demonic version of Jesse who runs at him, and that's it. Yeah. That's it. That's it.
Ugh, yeah.
I think this was a terrible movie purely for the superhero parts and the final 20 minutes. Yeah. I just can't forgive it.
It's a shame because the character development made the possession so much more interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
The fact you knew he was like a young, fun-loving teenager, you know, mucking around, goofing around, to what he turned into. But just, again, it delays the explanation for filming, no explanation for filming at some parts. You know, just going with guns and stuff like that, and it's just, no. Did you have to go with the cliche of like Mexican gangs and things like that? Did you have to go that route?
I mean, I can live with the cliche because of where it's set, but I just cannot get over the fact that they will not put the camera down. That this is all film worthy. That this needs, like, even if it said something stupid like we need to capture this on film, I would have been like, no, you don't. That's stupid. No, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
But at least do that.
Yeah.
I just still thought it was fucking insanely stupid.
Yeah.
I can't. It's just I find it utterly absurd, and it's obnoxious at times as well in how it's filmed, because all the worst kind of found footage you could have, which is shaky as fuck, can't see anything, don't know what's going on, people lunging at a camera.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's such a shame because the characters are so nice to begin with. You like them. You like what they're doing with this. And it just resorts to the most tired tropes of found footage that were dead in the water by this stage. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah.
And I wish I could say it was going to get better. But it's not. It is Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, 2015. It's 3D, people. Yes, you will notice the 3D in this. Welcome to the CGI Fest. This is an awful film. I don't think it's as bad as number 4, purely because it ties the story up. Yeah. But it is fucking close. Yeah, it's the second worst. Yeah. Because it literally, what it does in relation to the paranormal stuff, fucking, you've seen it all before. Yeah. Cliches everywhere. Yeah. Not a memorable cast. No. Downright stupid at times. And of course, does the cardinal sin of found footage. Why are you filming? Yeah. Why are you filming? Yeah. And this is nowhere more prevalent than at the end, of course. Directed by Gregory Plotkin. Written, are you ready for this? Written by Jason Harry Pagan, Andrew Deutschman, Adam Robertal, and Gavin Hefferman. 4 writers! Yeah. What the fuck? Yeah. Absolutely. And again, to continue the downward trend, 10 million budget. Yep. Bigger budget. 78 million worldwide. Huge, 7 times its budget, but the franchise is clearly ailing. Yep. Clearly. Yep. Our cast, we have Chris J. Murray as Ryan Fleeg, Britt Shaw as Emily Fleeg, Dan Gill as Mike Fleeg, Olivia Taylor-Dudley as Skylar, who I still don't know who she is in relation to this family. She's a sister. No, she's not. Oh. No, she's not. What on earth? Oh, she's a family friend. They're called Aunt. Chloe Segni as young Katie returns. Jessica Tyler-Brown as young Christy returns. Hallie Foote as Lois returns. There you go. There's our cast. The Fleeg family. Fleeg. I call it that. Fleeg. It begins with the events of Paranormal Activity 3 as a reminder of when the franchise was last good. Yeah. This time, though, we get a little bit more when we actually see what happens when we go upstairs. We're introduced to a man with a ponytail talking about Toby and how important they are to his plans. Yeah. 2013, we jump to and we're introduced to the Fleegs. Ryan, his wife Emily, their 6-year-old daughter Layla. And they're about leading up to Christmas. Yeah. So we're leading up to Christmas. And Ryan's brother Mike is moving in after breaking up with his girlfriend. I initially liked the chemistry. I initially did. Yeah. Ended up disliking them both heavily by the end. Yeah. I do appreciate Ryan is he's the only one who seems to believe anything is happening. Yeah. I think it's a bit of a joke, a bit of a laugh. Yeah. And he just notices his daughter is talking to an imaginary friend called Toby. He ends up finding a box of old videotapes between 1988 and 1992 and a very large video camera, old school video camera that just apparently turned up in their house. Oh, maybe the people that lived here before you had it. Yeah. They're fairly new to this house. That should be said now. Yeah. That's semi-important to the plot. I don't know if it's even that important to the plot, really. Brief mention of it, yeah. Yeah, but is it important to the plot? Like the overall plot? No. We'll get to a hilarious part about the demon, you know, that kind of thing. But basically, these tapes are simultaneously the stuff we saw from number 3, but also new stuff as well. There's basically training videos for Katie and Kirsty as we see them talk through communicating and talking to the demon. Through that, we see often Katie making references to the events that are occurring in this film as though she can see them. It's all about seeing through fucking time. Yeah. That maddening kind of thing. We never find out who this dude is. No. Why he... Because that's what I find really puzzling. Why is it not Lois? Yeah. Why does a bloody man taking over a coven of women? It's a very strange development, isn't it? It's like he's brand new. Why would you not just have it be Lois? the one we've been led to believe.
Guiding them through, yeah.
But she's barely in this movie.
No.
And it's very, very
Odd.
strange in that,
Yeah.
I think. So that through that, Ryan and Mike, they see kind of things that are talked about. They talk about Layla and Toby, and later on about things they generally say. Ryan's the only one that seems bothered by this. And of course, while all this is going on, guess what we get? Things that go bump in the night.
Yeah.
You've seen it all before.
Yeah, very boring.
The difference here is this special camera, this ghost camera. Through this camera, we apparently can see the ghost dimension, because that's what the film's title, that's what effectively it is. So you get kind of blurring in the lights, and you get these segments where it kind of like sound changes. It's almost like a different environment, kind of thing. And it's just for the 3D. It's just for the fucking 3D. It's just for the 3D. 28 minutes into this 1 hour, 30 odd minute film, 88 minutes long film, should I say, we get the simple fact where it's like, well, there's no disputing this anymore. Like, there's no like, oh, it's just something moving. As we see a black, smoky figure, watery, kind of gooey, black figure just appear in the camera. So Ryan has set up cameras around the place because he wants to capture this footage and stuff like that. Blah, de blah, de blah. You've seen it all be fucking for.
Yeah. Should have done so much more with it. If you're finishing a film, if you're finishing off a series of films, just go over the top with it. Why just make it?
Wasn't this called The Activity? It had a tagline, The Activity is here? Or something like that. Like, I remember the tagline was something like that. I haven't seen a copy. For the first time, you will see the activity. Which really goes, wait, what was I watching in the other films? Wasn't that activity?
I didn't need to see what the girls were talking to. I wanted to see more. I wanted to have more creepy scares build up.
Then say, for the first time, you will see Toby.
Yeah.
Because that's a shit tagline. But to say that for the first time you'll see the activity, it'll be like, wait, what was the other films doing?
What other films watching?
Isn't that activity? Isn't that paranormal activity? Like, it makes no sense. Anyway, black, inky, oily figure standing above her daughter's bed. It is clear, front and fucking centre. And yet somehow it gets played off. Somehow it just gets played off. As a, that's weird.
Because he talks to his wife.
She doesn't want to know.
And then it doesn't mention that he showed her the video. Like, he doesn't go, oh, you have to see this, it's actually happening. It's absurd. They gloss over so fucking much. They gloss over a demonic figure coming face to camera, and you see its definition of face. And he even goes, well, it kind of looks like a face. It's a kind of. It is a face. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like we're watching something else. That is infuriating. It is like we're watching something else. Scarlett gets attacked. Who cares? She's here. She's not. She's here. She's not. Yeah. Absolutely. The cat looked absolutely fucking infuriating. The camera gets knocked over. Blah de blah de blah de blah de blah. He ends up finding Layla. Ends up outside when they follow some scary bits and see more of the spirit dimension. They find like buried rosaries. They find a plaque that says that Katie and Christy used to live in this house. And we then discover that this house is brand new. Yeah. Built on the ground, the same property that Kate and Kirsty lived in 1992. And it turns out, and I like this is the one part I like, is that the realtor was fake. And he was Katie. Katie was the fake realtor. That's kind of cool. I like that. I like Ryan's reaction in this. He seems generally disturbed and all stuff like that. They end up calling a father in, a priest. He's like, yep, some serious shit's going down. Yeah. No point leaving. The demon is attached to you, not the the house. So there's no point leaving, which is fair enough. And he's like, basically, I'm going to come back. This is all ramped up when Layla becomes less talkative. Emily decides to get involved as well and basically starts to believe strange shit's going on. Finally get involved with it. Yeah, and then researching into the cult, and they kill, like, you get references to them killing a family in Nevada. Number 4, and then they discover that this boy Hunter was born on the same day as Layla. Yeah. So another part of the law, they need. Apparently, this cover needs a boy and a girl born on one of these checks born on the same moon or something like that. So and Layla's blood to complete the transformation. The girl to complete the transformation. They end up watching. He watches more videotapes and sees Hunter in one that was in 1992. Yet the boy was not born until 2005. Time travel. What the fucking do? Yep. All this is happening while you're still getting the same strange, oily effects and stuff and creatures and stuff like that. And it's just like, this is absurd. Yeah. It's almost like at times you're like, are you even watching the footage you're capturing? Yeah. Are you just got them running for our benefit?
One night, Layla wakes up and basically she's already drawn symbols to create a door. And she goes through this door and you see it and it's like a hallway, creepy hallway. She goes in there and disappears. The parents can't find her, and then she magically appears in the bedroom. And they say, "Hey, enough is enough is enough.
We're gonna leave.
We're leaving. We're off skis." Skylar and Mike, is it?
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, Mike come back to collect some bits, and then decide to hang around.
Yeah.
Start reading the papers. Start reading the paperwork. We're reading the shit out about what we already know.
Yeah.
And then they discover Layla's there. And she's kind of bloodied her hand, scratching at the wall where the door was.
Yeah.
You know, Mike notices there's a kind of glowy crack there, as if there's something actually there.
Yeah.
The priest then comes to cleanse the house. The other family members have come back. Obviously, she walked out of the hotel, and they're going to cleanse the house and trap the demon inside like a circle, a spiritual circle, and put holy water covered sheets over it.
Yeah.
Are you ready for ramping it up?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine to ramp it up. We've got to this stage, we're at number fucking 6. Let's do something here. I just don't think it's very, very good. The demon gets them trapped inside it. You see it kind of basically full on. It's very tall, very gangly, very... Not like a whole figure. Like, it's got a very smoky edge to it.
Yeah.
Looks shit, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not great.
Any demon you've ever seen before.
It's not great CGI.
Nope. I like it more when you got a sheet over it.
Yeah.
Because then it's like it's covered, but you can see it's got mass and force and stuff like that. And it seems to work. The demon just disappears. Just disappears. And Layla's like, "Oh, mummy, daddy," that kind of thing. But then you cut to Skylar, who's clearly been possessed now. Yeah. She vomits burning blood all over Mike and burns his face. They both die. I mean, this is all very frantic. This all happens in the space of about a minute. Let's call it Ryan. Ryan and Emily run up the stairs. Bear in mind as well, we haven't really said this because fuck saying it. All filmed. This camera is grabbed as they run up the stairs because that's super important in this moment of panic and death and destruction to grab the camera. Emily falls down and Ryan gets stabbed through the chest by a giant claw, which is coming at ya for 3D. It looks fucking horrendous. We all see this because Emily is still holding the camera. Apparently, this is important. And she still gets up and still takes the camera with her. I mean, what am I supposed to do, film? What do you expect of me? What do you expect of me? She ends up running into the portal in a room. Layla goes through the portal. Emily follows. And she arrives back in 1992, the house. The period of events with machines and the tape. She runs into young Katie, who tells her it's too late. She finds Layla, who says, "Mummy, they only wanted a little bit of my blood."
So you know that the process has been finished.
It's been done, basically. And the camera finally is on the floor here. But thankfully in a convenient place that we see Emily and Layla kind of hiding. And then you see the massive feet of what is now a body version of Toby.
Yeah, Toby's got a human form.
Yeah, he stands over her, lifts her up by her neck and snaps her neck. You then see him reach out his hand and Layla holds his hand. And they walk off screen and that is it. And that was, and hopefully will be, because I hope number 7 actually happens, the end of the franchise. I appreciate it. I appreciate the ending and I appreciate the wrapping up of the franchise and I appreciate the fact that it ended in a downbeat way. The success was done, and so it should have been, considering the size and scope and scale of what these witches were doing.
I like the idea of having, like you said, having that tied up. There's no happy endings. It didn't end with like some sort of female hero at the end. It was just nasty from start to finish. There was no like love from Toby. There was no getting rid of him. So, yeah, I appreciated that.
I appreciate that too. However, this movie fucking blows.
Yeah. It was just, they ramped up. So, normally it starts with things that you can kind of get away with explaining in different ways. So, say if there's a banging, it could be your pipes or just people upstairs that not there all the time. And then you show people, when the weirdest things start to happen, you show them, they go, that's 100% not normal. This film, it goes straight away. So, like, say the black tar
figure
apparition. There's nothing that can be explained away. There's shaking. There's like there's tremors from an earthquake. That is generally supernatural. And that's where you start with. Okay, we need to get someone in at this point. You should have had that point later on in the film. Then bring in the father Todd. Why then and have such disbelief and her not believing by the end? It made no sense.
it makes no fucking sense. And here's the thing, I get it, right? You're at your 6th film, you know, right, in your heart of hearts, that you cannot just follow the same fucking tick box formula you've done in the other films because people aren't going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But here's the problem, you're doing that anyway in every other way, shape or form. Because you're doing this fucking cameras, sitting and filming stuff. You're doing the kid talking to Toby off screen. You're doing the kid doing weird shit. And then to ramp it up because we've got to see the activity, you're like, well, we've got to ramp it up and have this. And it's like, but then in the same breath, you're like, well, yeah, but we have another hour to do. How do we move this along? Oh, let's just keep reverting back to the family. Still, I don't know about you guys, man. I don't know about people, but I see that on my camera work. I'm out that door. I'm out that fucking door. Or I am calling in some fucking paranormal experts. I'm yellow paging, Googling that, and calling someone and saying, listen, I've got this videotape. Come, can you capture this?
Exactly.
Come and watch it. This shit is all over the news. Maybe that needed, maybe make it public as well. In the sense that, like, particularly when you start realizing it's a witch thing. And you're like, look, let's get this out there. Let's get this fucking out there in some way. It's a bad film because it does nothing original. And when it tries to, by showing us the demon properly, it fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. It's not even saying like it's a down point of the franchise because, good God, from 4 onwards, and aside from 5's highlights, it has been a rough ride for this franchise.
Definitely.
And you've seen it with the lowering box office takes that they had run out of ideas. And here's the joke with number 7. What are you going to do? So you're going to restart the franchise brand new? No one's going to care. Because if you do it, it'd be Blair Witch again. Where you think people care. But because it's found footage, it's the same stuff we've seen before and all that, it'll earn money, it'll do well enough, but it will not be with the return you think. You are not looking at, you are never going to replicate what the first film did.
No, definitely not.
So what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you rebooting it? Then you're just doing the same thing. There's nothing here. So I think it's a disaster already.
Definitely.
Absolutely. But I don't care. I do not care in the slightest. Because we have these movies. And as I said at the very start of this video, 3 movies, a trilogy, I think would reflect on these a lot more positively.
Stretching it out thin.
Stretching it out thin. That's the biggest thing. Is what 4, 5 and 6 do could have been condensed into one movie. Definitely. Absolutely. There you go. I think overall, the look at this franchise and say overall, I think it's got more bad than good. Because what it does good, it never does great. This is an important aspect. None of these movies are classics. None of these movies can be held up alongside the legendary horror movies. When we talk about Paranormal Activity, we always say the same fucking thing. The original, we say the same thing. How it was done on such a budget and how they got such money for it. We don't talk about it being one of the best films you've ever seen. It's just not what we do.
No, and we watched them in sort of series, didn't we? And that was beneficial to us. I wouldn't just pick one and go, oh, let's put that on. I would.
We'll end on that then. If you want to do this franchise and you're like, you know what, I've not seen these films and all that, let me go and watch them. Start with one all the way through and watch them in a short amount of space. And you'll get yourself a little bit more tied into the overall witch lore, which is ultimately the biggest benefit the movie has. I don't like the fact that each fucking movie from 4 onwards, they felt the need to add something brand new in to complicate it and make it larger than it needed to be.
Because none of it's explained anyway.
No, none of it's explained.
No, so it's just, you just add this on. Oh, there's loads of them now. Oh, this happens, this happens.
Now we need blood from another person that was born, an opposite sex that was born on the same day. It's like, you've just thrown that in.
Yeah, it was always the firstborn son. Which makes sense because throughout history, they've always looked at the firstborn son as something to be praised and to kept hold of. You know, like in the Bible.
It was firstborn sons. Absolutely.
So, it just felt a bit, oh, really?
Yeah, very, very glad to be done with it. But there you go. That's our look back on the entire Paranormal Activity franchise. Got any thoughts on it? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?